I'm going to get started for you, and then I'll turn the time over to Mike and then to Brianna. And they will be talking to you a little bit more. I know people are anxious to get some more information about the schedule and how that looks, what's it going to look like for students, and also how the Mondays work, that asynchronous learning day, the flex day on Monday, and Brianna will be providing you more information about that. She's also going to take you onto the AMSA website and show you the recently launched remote learning website page that we have. And I think you're going to find that very, very helpful. She's also going to include a quick demonstration of a new teacher communication tool that has been created. So each teacher will have their own page where you'll be able to, your students will be able to go in there and will be able to see potentially textbooks or reading materials, but it will be all organized by teacher. And I think it will be helpful to you as Brianna will demonstrate for you shortly. So a couple of the topics that came up today that I'm going to address with you. The first is about, it was from a parent of an incoming junior wondering about the college admissions process and what their students should be working on right now. You may, excuse me, be aware that that in a whole nother life, I was actually a school counselor for a number of years, and when I came to AMSA, I was a school counselor. So I'm going to take that question because it brings me joy. So the college admissions process, the specific question was around will the colleges, the admissions offices, be working with students and be coming to do visits and things like that with students. So, you know, in a non-COVID year, the guidance counselors would have students sign up for different admissions counselors coming to visit, and they would do that process through Naviance. And hopefully by now your high school students know all about Naviance. But they would register for those visits. They're still going to register for the visits through Naviance, but they're going to be held on Mondays, and that's one of the pieces of their education that they're going to participate in on Mondays. So if you have high school students, especially 11th and 12th graders, and they want to take part in some of those sessions with college admissions counselors, I've heard that we have over 100 signed up. Then I would encourage them to please log into their Naviance account and start to register for those. That's more than we've ever had. We typically will have 60 or 70 or sometimes a little more than 70 that will come. But because colleges are not encouraging on-campus visits at most of their universities, and then the college admissions counselors are not coming out to schools this year or this fall, everything's going to be virtual. And so it's a nice way to get exposed to more colleges, and because it's on Mondays, I think that that's going to be really helpful. And during Mondays, the counselors will be also available to do a lot of the different you know, questions and small group work and things like that with our students coming up. We are also working on a PSAT plan. It looks like the option that we are going to choose is for 11th graders on October 29th. So more information to come from that. If you have any questions, I guess at this moment I would wait till the information comes out from Kate Driver and the school councils about 11th graders taking PSAT and how that's actually going to look. There's several options that College Board gave us, and I think what we're going to do is that October 29th date. So keep that in the back of your mind for your 11th graders. And there may be further options in the winter also that College Board is offering PSAT, so there may be additional opportunities for some of our younger students as well. So that is still actually being planned. Let's see what else we have here. So also seniors, for any senior parents we have on today, remember that your students will start to take senior seminar with the counselors as part of their schedule. So they will be working with them starting next week. So that's awesome. Questions about school pictures. Actually spoke to Ann Richards this morning, who's our Director of Operations, and Ann works on our school pictures program. She contacted the photographer, and they are suggesting that we wait till we return to school, either in a remote learning model or fully in person, before they're offering to take pictures. So we have started that conversation with them, and at this point, you know, we hope to be back to school around Thanksgiving or just prior to Thanksgiving. So, you know, fingers crossed on that. We'll see how things go as schools begin to open up next week. But at this point, so we are starting to think about school pictures, and the photographer has said that they can't do it while we're remote, but that as soon as we come back as hybrid or fully in school, then we will plan a day. They're being very flexible with us on dates. So that was another question. And then the other question was about when our students come back to school and the 8th graders that are coming into the upper school building, will they have an opportunity to do a tour and to have an orientation? And we will certainly do that for them. I know it can be a big difference from being 2 years in the smaller, the lower school building, and then all of a sudden to go to the upper school building. So as it looks like we have a firm date in hand of when we're going to come back to school, then we'll make sure that they get the proper orientation. And also for our 9th grade students, around, you know, actually the school councils will be doing that sooner, and they'll be meeting with them about what does it mean to be a high school student, and as far as transcripts and things are concerned, because it is a little bit different in high school. And you may hear my dog barking in the background. I let them out, and sure enough, as soon as you do, they start barking. I have two. So we will make sure that everyone receives the orientation information that they need. There were many questions the last time we got together a few weeks ago about yearbooks, and yearbooks will be delivered when you pick up your students' books tomorrow, from 8 to 4 tomorrow. No, I'm sorry, not tomorrow. My gosh, Thursday. Don't want to make that mistake. So let's scratch that. The book pickup is not tomorrow. We have a crew of people who are still bagging books. So what they're doing right now is looking at your child's individual schedule, gathering all their books, and putting them into a bag. And I will throw out there that the bags actually were donated by Quest Diagnostics, so a big, huge thank you to Quest. But you'll be getting a nice, sturdy bag for all your students' books. Thank you to Mark Vital, by the way, to put that plug in there for reaching out and having those donations given to us. So textbooks can be picked up on Thursday. The hope is to have them all distributed from between 8 and 4 on Thursday, and then if there's a few people that are able to make it on Thursday, that they'll also be available from 12 to 2 on Friday. If neither of those times work for you, please reach out to Lynn McCluskey. She's the assistant to the principal, and work out another time that works for your family. But we're hoping to have the majority of that done 8 to 4 this Thursday. And so what you'll do is you'll drive up to the appropriate school building. You received an email about this, so take a look through the email. I know you're getting a lot of emails from us, but you'll see the process. Just like the drop-offs, you're going to pull up, you're going to give them your student's name, they're going to scurry into the building, grab your student's bag, and deliver it right out to your car for you. So we thank all the people who are involved in making that happen, because it's a huge undertaking. We have thousands and thousands and thousands of books. Questions also that came up last time that we didn't have answers for a couple of weeks ago was around study halls and senior privileges. So study hall in the high school are going to run as always. Students will log in virtually to their study hall. The study hall teacher will take attendance, and then we'll be there to supervise them. We ask that they keep their cameras on so that we know that they're there, and that they're hopefully doing the work that they need to. And the study hall teacher is there to ask a question if things pop up, that they have questions or if they need something. As far as senior privileges are concerned, we have decided that one of the senior privileges this year will be that the seniors do not have to attend study hall if they choose not to. If they want to, they're more than welcome to come and have their attendance taken. But one of the senior privileges is that they do not have to attend. They do not have to attend study hall. Now, when we go back to school and they're back in the classroom, they will need to attend study hall once again. Senior privileges in the past has stated that if their study hall is last period or first period, that with permission from their parents, that they can leave early on the last period or come in late during first period. So that will be the way that it will stand also when we return back to the building. But for now, even if it's during the middle of the day, they do not have to attend study hall. Any other senior privileges will come through student government, and that's typically how it's done. It's just kind of been tradition. There's a few of them that are kind of a tradition at AMSA. The seniors get to have lunch outside and things like that. Obviously, those things won't happen this fall, but they'll be working through student government and through Brianna Murphy to determine if there's any other senior privileges that they would like to propose. They propose them, and then Mike and I and Brianna look at them and make decisions on whether it's something that can reasonably be done or not. My last topic here, before I turn the time over to Mike and Brianna, there was a question about sports and the decision made on sports. And there was a board meeting on Thursday night, at which point it was voted on by the board that we would offer cross country with modifications that have been published by MIAA in conjunction with the Department of Education, and also golf. So it's golf and cross country running for this fall. And then there's a new season that has been put into place by MIAA. It's called Fall 2, and it starts, I believe, February 22nd and runs through April. And we've moved soccer to that Fall 2 season. Four Kicks does have the capability of keeping those fields cleared because they are turf fields and they're not grass fields. And so they are confident that they can support us doing soccer at that time. And also others in our division are also playing soccer during Fall 2. So if you want more information on sports, I would contact Pete Jones, our athletic director, or take a look at the emails that have been sent out community-wide. I believe that was on Friday. An email was sent out by Pete Jones. And then the last one is about clubs. We will be doing clubs. We're getting that off the ground and organized right now. Those of us who run clubs, Linda Edwards and I are advisors to the UNICEF Club, and we're going to be meeting actually this week with our offices. But a lot of the clubs have started launching things and started having those initial meetings with our officers, and we're going to try to get as many clubs going as we can this fall. And because I think that the kids really need the social interaction, and I think it will be a lot of fun. So we're looking forward to it. And now I will turn the time over to Mike and Brianna.
All right, Brianna, I'll go first. So welcome, everyone. We're here on a Tuesday afternoon, day after Labor Day. What do we have? 71 people. So thank you all for taking time and coming out to listen to us talk about this upcoming year, which will be an interesting one, to say the least. I have 3 different topics here. So we'll be kind of jumping around from topic to topic. They don't all align perfectly by any means. But the first one has to do with the students' Zoom accounts. So, Mr. Finkel, you may be able to help me out here. I know that our IT department have the Zoom accounts ready to launch and to send out all of the Zoom sign up and login information to our students. And there's a notice with the directions, clear-cut directions that Erica Piotrowski, our IT director, put together. And Mr. Finkel, do you know when that notice will officially go out to the families and students?
Yeah, there was an email that went out this morning to all parents.
Perfect. Okay.
And then Ms. Piotrowski will follow up with an additional email today, or the students will receive information from her.
That's perfect.
So parents, if you did not receive an email about this, make a note in the chat there and I'll follow up with you.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Mr. Finkel. And along with that, I believe that we are looking to put together a short tutorial video for our students accessing Zoom, how to enter into a meeting, how to locate their class on the calendar, to click into that, and then to join the Zoom class meeting. So more information to come. I know we're, first day of school is, approaching, but we are in the middle of getting all this information together, as well as, all the other aspects of opening up our school remotely. So we will get there, and you will see more information soon. Some other questions with the Zoom accounts. There were some concerns with security. I believe one or maybe two parents reached out directly and wrote in some questions. So when our students, their Zoom accounts are directly linked to their AMSA email accounts. When our teachers host classes through Zoom, the only way that a student can enter into the classroom will be they have to be logged in through their student Gmail account, their school provided student AMSA Gmail account. That's the only way they can access the Zoom meeting, which is very, very important. Our teachers went through a training last week where on our end, the hosts of the meeting, we can preset the settings for our meetings and set up the criteria. And one of the boxes that our teachers will be checking, all of our staff members, teachers, anyone who's hosting any meeting with students, will check off the box that only AMSA accounts can enter into these particular meetings. So please do keep that in mind. That will keep the outside accounts or outsiders, attempting to come into Zoom meetings. It will not be possible. And we put in other security measures, general security measures. As I said, we had training recently with our IT director. We also had training a few weeks back. It was sort of an initial training, an introductory training, maybe 2 weeks ago at this point, where we got to know the basics. But now we're digging a little bit deeper and learning more about the security features. And we're in a good place right now. In that tool, keeping it strictly in the AMSA, keeping it so that strictly AMSA accounts are the only ones who can attend the Zoom meetings, is a very big step in the right direction for us when it comes to making sure that these meetings are safe and secure. So please know that. I know there was one question that popped up, but I'm sure others were thinking about that as well. There was a question about phys ed classes this year. This is also covered in we have a frequently asked question page, but there were a few additional questions about phys ed and how phys ed classes would look. Phys ed classes will run through Zoom, just like any other class will, on your students' schedules. Phys ed will feature some there will be physical movement involved in our phys ed classes this year. Not for the entirety of the 70-minute block. It won't be a 70-minute workout or anything like that. But part of that class, students should expect some form of physical movement. That will depend on the age group and the teacher and the unit that they are covering at that point in time. There will be physical movement, and in addition to that, there will definitely be more time compared to when we're in person for phys ed classes. There will be more time dedicated to discussions around health-related topics. So again, I do not want any of the families to think that the phys ed teachers will be conducting 70-minute, physical movement trainings and things like that. The classes will be strategically planned, and there will be time for discussion and more health topics discussed during those times. But they will run. If it's on your student's schedule, they will attend it. They'll receive the Zoom and they'll receive the invitations on their calendars and or their Google Classrooms to join those classes. So they will be attending phys ed classes as they would with any other class this upcoming year. Also, switching gears a little bit, there was a question that popped up about the posting of grades and how often our teachers will be posting grades. We are abiding by our communication protocol, which is outlined on our school website under Student Life. You can click on that tab on the homepage, click on Student Life, scroll down, you'll see communication protocol. And that's a summary of the expectations that we hold ourselves to as staff members when communicating with families. And it also has some steps in there for families and students to follow if they have any disputes, whether it be academically related or any other situations that pop up in the classroom. goes through the process of the families and the students process for filing complaints and things like that. But when it comes to posting grades, we are sticking to, at a minimum, our teachers will be posting grades once every 2 weeks. They will have them updated. Our plan this year, especially during the remote phase when we have the Monday flex days, is to dedicate every other Monday as an update and as a day where families can check their students' progress on Plus Portals, and students can check their Plus Portals accounts as well. And they will have a very, very accurate view of their performance for that particular quarter or for the school year. So please keep that in mind. The minimum expectation is for those to be updated once every 2 weeks and to be accurate once every 2 weeks. Please keep in mind that many of our teachers do update much more often than that. But there was a question that came in asking if we could reduce that expectation and offer the grades once a week, or have them updated every week.
Just for seniors was the question.
Yeah, just for the seniors. And at this point in time, that's not the direction we're looking to go to. We are keeping the bi-weekly updates in place. And again, during the remote phase, we are looking at making that happen on the Monday flex days as a nice opportunity for the teachers to have some time to accurately input their students' marks so that all families and students can see that. That's all that I had on my end. I know Brianna's going to be talking a little bit about our schedule. Many questions popped up about the schedule, like or how it's going to look from the students' end. What exactly do the schedules look like? So Brianna, you are free to take it away.
Thank you, Mike. So before I get to I just had a couple other random questions that relate to the beginning of the school year. So I'll answer those first. We had one question come in about language requirements or options for our sixth graders. Sixth graders take Latin, and they continue to do so through 7th and 8th grade as well. And once they reach high school, they're able to select either to continue Latin or to take Spanish or French at that point, or moving from that point forward. Students who either qualify for ELL or for reading services might not be in or wouldn't be in their Latin class for receiving both. But if they, reach a point where they test out of ELL services, then they would have the option to study Latin in 7th grade or 8th grade, depending on what year they move beyond that class. We also had a question come in about the supply list. The supply lists were updated, and those updates were sent out to families about 2 weeks ago. We only do supply lists for 6th to 8th grade. Actually, previously we haven't offered an 8th grade supply list for a few years, but the teachers got together and offered one. They definitely kept in mind the idea and the hope that we'll be going back to school at some point this year. So the idea was to be more prepared, and we still encourage students to take notes in person, have pencils and those kind of things, because they'll still need those supplies even remotely, or even when they're learning remotely. Orientation schedules will be sent today. I think the 6th grade one already went out, and then for all new 7th, 8th, and 9th grade students, they will have a short session about 2 hours long, and that schedule will be sent out later today as well. So at this point, I'll talk a little bit more about the schedule for the coming year. So I know we've sent out a lot of information. Ellen presented it at a couple of the board meetings, so some of this might be review for some of you, but we again have received a lot of questions about it. So the week starts with Monday. We don't have school Monday next week, but our typical school week would start on a Monday. And the day begins with a Monday morning check-in group from 9:05 to 9:35. So a 30-minute session, and students will be placed in a small cohort of 10 to 13 students in each cohort from their same grade level, and then one teacher to facilitate that cohort. Mike and I actually both have a cohort as well, and we're looking forward to having that. and working with, students closely from our end. And the idea of this is to take attendance for the day. So the students do need to be present in that cohort group to be marked present for the school day. And it's also to just further facilitate connections between our staff and students, and also among students. The goal of the the check-in is to talk about how students are doing, if they need help navigating their schedule, if they're having trouble focusing at home, basically any topic that they would like to discuss, or their cohort teacher would like to discuss with them as well. And it's also a way that the teacher can see and visually check in with students a little bit more directly than they'd have the chance to do so in class, just because those groups are so much smaller. And again, it's not an academic time in like a content sense. So again, the teacher will have the chance to really, connect with the student, hopefully more on a little bit of a personal level, rather than, your traditional classroom setting. And we know that a big concern is that personal connections that students will feel, again, between one another and also with their teachers. So we're hoping that this check-in will help to replace a little bit of that more informal interaction that occurs during the school day between classes or before class begins and that kind of thing. So the rest of Monday is dedicated to asynchronous learning. So teachers will be assigning work knowing that students have multiple hours on Monday to dedicate to schoolwork. So in the past, you might be more familiar with your student having maybe 2 to 3 hours of homework, on kind of a busier night. They might end up having, a lot more than that, because they'll have work that's assigned that should be done on Monday, because again, that is time for them to dedicate to learning. Monday is not, a half day. It is meant to be a full day of academic time that students should be spending, with that time that they have. Teachers will be available in office hours on Monday, so we will have a 45-minute block for each department, and we're hoping that will cut down on some conflicts. We know some of our students take multiple math classes or science classes or history electives or things like that, but hopefully having, just a department per 45-minute block will cut down on the conflict so that they can split, that 45 minutes between multiple teachers if they need to. And teachers will work with them in terms of how to best sign up and how to use that office hour time that students will have. And that will be available on every single Monday. We also, as an administration, will be holding grade level meetings or class meetings with our students on Mondays once a month. So we'll have that time to check in with them. Typically, we really just do one class meeting in the beginning of the year, but again, we know that we're all going to be remote, and we want to make sure that we're keeping connected with the students and that they feel connected to the school as well. So that's why we're going to have those meetings more frequently. Mondays will also be available for any potential counseling time that students will need, meeting time as well for teachers to get together maybe with parents who are, concerned about their students' work. That's kind of obviously on an as-needed basis. But again, for all students, the day begins with a Monday morning check-in. They will have the opportunity to go to office hours on Mondays as well, but the rest of the time should be dedicated to completing work that their teachers assign to them the week before. So the rest of the schedule, Tuesday through Friday, is a new block schedule that we've instituted. When we created the schedule over the summer, we wanted to create a schedule that would easily transition between a hybrid model where we're learning in person on campus and a remote model. And a big idea, or a big reason why we went with the block schedule, is we felt that it would be helpful to have fewer transitions during the day, during the school day, because we're worried about, the increased likelihood of contracting any kind of illness. But now that we are all remote, we think this still has a lot of value because students only have to manage 4 different check-ins a day rather than the 8 that they'd have on our normal rotating schedule. So we do really think that, yes, the learning time, or the time in front of the screen for one class is longer, but in terms of that multitasking aspect, and we know a lot of students are going to be at home alone, Or their parents will be working from home as well, and everyone's going to do their own thing, so they won't have that one-on-one support as available to them as they might have in another situation. So only managing 4 logins during a day will hopefully make it a little less daunting during the school day. And we've built in some breaks too. So I will project the schedule, or I'll share my screen. Let's just see if I can. Oh, it looks like I can't currently share my screen. I'll see. I think Mike's going to give me permissions momentarily. Awesome. All right. Oh, still says disabled. Takes a couple minutes. There's a couple buttons that need to be pushed, as a lot of you probably know already with Zoom. All right, now I can do it. So, okay, so I'm going to show you the block schedule first, and then we're going to go on the website. So I just talked about the Monday block schedule day. So you'll see Tuesday through Friday what that schedule looks like. So we'll be following our normal start and end times for the school day, starting at 7:55 and ending at 2:45. There will be 70 minutes of instruction for their A1 class. Students hopefully are familiar with the letters and the A1 versus A2 from their schedule. This schedule is in Plus Portals now too, so they should easily be able to follow along with that. And then after that 70 minutes of instruction, there is a 30-minute block for academic workshop. This is not a break. This is time for students to complete work. Ideally, or we're recommending teachers to assign independent work during the 70 minutes of instruction and encourage students to do that during this 30-minute academic workshop and either be due later that day or before the next class. But again, this is time for students to complete work. It's not a break. They will be able to turn their cameras off, but they should still be completing work during this time. After the end of the 30-minute academic workshop, they'll have a 15-minute break. We did build in 2 15-minute breaks during the day, as well as a 40-minute lunch. And we really want students to use this time to step away from the screen, maybe go outside, go for a walk, obviously have food on lunch and all that, because we are concerned about the screen time too, as I think a lot of you are, and I think as we've all been working, or a lot of us have been working from home, we know how draining that can be. I have new special blue light glasses actually for this school year I'm very excited about because, again, I think we know how tricky this can be when you're on the screen all day. So that 15-minute break in the morning and in the afternoon should absolutely be used for them to step away from the computer and not be on a screen. So then they'll have, after that break, 70-minute block of their B1 class, more instructional time. Then they'll go into their 40-minute lunch. As you'll notice from this schedule, lunch comes at the halfway point during the day, making sure that all the instructional periods are the same length of time as well. We did have a question that came up, I think, from one of our other family forums on what motivated, the 11 o'clock lunch hour seems kind of early, but this is in keeping with when lunch would be normally held, or around the same time lunch would be held if we were in person at school. After lunch, they have another 70-minute class, their C1 class. That's followed by an academic workshop, same idea as earlier in the day. Then another 15-minute break, and then the remaining 70 minutes will be for their D1 class. That pattern continues the following days, so their break will always be from 9:35 to 9:50 in the morning and from 1:20 to 1:35 in the afternoon. But then the following week, we reverse those classes. So that's where we get for Orange Week. So rather than have A1 as first period on Tuesday, they will have D1 as first period on Tuesday. This reversal serves 2 purposes. The first is it's nice to have students at different times during the day. We all kind of know some of us probably work best right in the morning, right when we get up. Others might have more energy later in the day. Teachers and students, I think, have a lot of anecdotes that they could probably share about their own experiences with this in our normal rotating schedule. But then the other purpose is that this means that every class will benefit from the academic workshop time at some point in our 2-week rotation between the blue and the orange week. So everyone's going to get that 30 minutes after their 70 minutes of instruction at some point in the 2-week rotation for them to dedicate to that independent work that they will be encouraged to dedicate to class or work that relates to the class that they had prior to academic workshop. The next thing that I will show you is our website. I think I had to unshare. Oops, hold on a second. I don't know. I still can't figure out if this lets me navigate between tabs, so I just want to make sure the right tab pops up because I have a lot open right now. So let me share this again.
Well, while Brianna's looking at that, I was just noticing that we also have a blue and orange calendar that's lit, you know, it's actually blue, a blue week of running across an orange week. And I just noticed it's not on the website yet, so Mike Finkel will add that in there for us, just so it'll be very clear. And Brianna's going to show you the back to school section that's been put together. We'll make sure we add that calendar, so if you have any questions in orange week or blue week, you'll be able to click right in there and see.
Thanks, Ellen. So when you go to our website, this is the home page, and it has three really helpful links that are scrolling through this first banner. First of all, our office hours, which we only have a few days left of the summer anyways, so that's probably less relevant. Our back to school guide, and then the last one is summer work. Again, only a few days left, so hopefully students have completed their summer work. But any questions on that, you can click there, and there will be the supply list and any assignments that are relevant to your student's grade. And then if you click on the back to school guide, it brings you to this page that has a lot of resources on the side. Our full back to school plan, which is I think a 22-page document. It's very long. It took a lot of work and input from over 60 of our staff over the summer. The different schedules and calendars relevant to this school year, some information on technology, a frequently asked questions, and this last part that have come up across family forums and surveys that we've done that seem to run along some common themes, so that's a helpful resource too. One thing I do want to highlight is this email address, that if there are any things related to specifically to remote learning, to please use this email address, and that will make sure it will get to the right person. It's like one central place to collect. I know Mike, Ellen, and I often experience, you know, one of us gets an email that maybe pertains more to another. So this email will kind of be easier to manage and make sure that the right person receives it, so that they can more easily or more directly answer those questions.
And then just to add in there, Brianna, just to reintroduce Mark Vital. Again, you can see Mark on your screen, and Mark is going to be coordinating all of that feedback this year and sending out little pulse surveys to you, the students and teachers, to see how things are going. So when you send an email using that email address, it's going directly to Mark Vital, who just gave you a thumbs up.
All right, and then the last thing to show you on here is a new tool we have set up that our teachers were trained on as part of our 13 days of PT or PD that we've been doing. So if you go to the academics tab and then scroll down to our staff, I hope this is going to let me follow along. So I'm going to go to computer science. I'm going to show you one teacher's sample page of this. So if you click on the department, it will bring you to a nice overview of that department. But then on the right side for all departments, you'll have a staff tab. So you can click there. And I'm going to click on Ms. Bandaru. And what we'll see here is she has all of these different pages for her individual classes that she has this year. So we'll go to AP Comp Sci that meets during D block, and it will bring you to this Google slide that is all interactive. So every little symbol brings you somewhere else. So if I click here, this is the Google Classroom symbol. This would open up her Google Classroom page. We have the textbooks that she uses in class here. This little envelope with the @ sign is a link that will open up an email for you, so you can email her directly. As you can see on the right, you can click these hyperlinks for the course expectations and the syllabus, and then if you click grades, it will bring you to just your Plus Portal sign-in, where you'll be able to see all of your students' grades from there. It will also list her office hours and the teacher's office hours on here, and then there will be some other interactive pieces too, like for AP classes, there's a whole AP classroom through the College Board website. So that's this link here, and again, some other like program links and whatnot that relate to that class. So every teacher has one of these basically like virtual classrooms that you can click on. They'll be all set up by the start of school. I think some are still putting the finishing touches on there, but they will all have the same resources. So the link to the Google Classroom, the link to any online textbook, office hours, syllabus, an email link. So if you have any questions, anything you're uncertain about a particular class, this is the place to start. And hopefully our goal is that all these frequently asked questions that often come up about individual classes will be answered through this page. And if all else fails, then click on the little envelope and you can email the teacher directly. And
Also,
again,
Brianna,
oh yeah.
I was just going to mention, if you could go back to our homepage.
Yeah.
And let's see. Yep. And then if you go into Contact Us and you go into the directory.
Yep.
That's another way to get into those, into the teacher sites. I just think I find that easier than going into the academic side. So this is another way to get into those individual communication portals that the teachers have.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, and it looks like it lists everyone alphabetically, so hopefully that will be easy to navigate too. All right. Great.
I've noticed, let's see. Okay. There's a couple questions that have come up a few times. One is around how are students going to be notified of a class? And we're using Google Classroom again, as well, not everyone used it in the spring, but everyone's going to be using it in the fall. Last spring, you may remember, your students will remember that they got an invite to class and it showed up on their Google Calendar. So the Google Calendar is going to be very important for them because they are going to get invites from the teachers again. If they haven't started getting them already, they will for next week. And so that calendar will all be set up for them, and all they need to do is go into the calendar at the right time, and they just click on that Zoom invitation link, and they will be able to head right into the classroom. So very similar to the spring. The only difference really is that we're using Zoom this year and not Google Meet, which is what we used last year. And then the other question, let's see.
So Ellen, I can jump in real quick.
Please do.
Yeah, one question popped up here from Mr. Fior. Good to hear from you, Mr. Fior. The question about academic workshop and if that will be reflected on the student's schedule. So as you'll notice, as you mentioned here, it is not reflected on the student's schedule. The academic workshop, the expectation there will be, let's just say it's the first period class, the 70-minute session, 70 minutes of instruction will end, and the students will just transition into academic workshop by just staying logged in, as well as the teacher. So there's no need for the students to log out and then go somewhere else for academic workshop. They remain in the previous class period, and the teacher therefore does not need to record attendance and do all of that again. So you will not see it on the schedules.
Yeah, right. If we made it a different section, then the teachers would have to take attendance. So that just streamlined that. Okay, we seem to have hit all the questions. If you have any additional questions, please add them to the chat. Just once again, let's see. Once again, I'll let one of you read. Zach has just popped a question in there. We will be producing and putting together a welcome back video, and it will be done remotely, so it will be a little bit different than we've had in the past. But in that video, it will go to our students in the video. We'll send it to parents too, but it will be directed specifically towards our students, and just to review some of these new things that are coming up this week. And also, as Mike mentioned, we will be doing class meetings. Those will be coming up in the first couple weeks on Mondays also. And I think that I think we're in good shape. The teachers have been working so hard over these last few weeks. I can't even tell you how much effort and their heart and soul that they're putting into getting ready to see your students next week. We purchased a program that they've spent a lot of time working on and practicing and doing demonstrations and things for each other called Nearpod. And the really amazing thing about Nearpod is it makes the class very, very interactive. So you could literally take, in fact, I was practicing with Dr. Lewis last week, and we took one of his AP US history PowerPoint that he's been using. And so it wasn't even a Google slide. It was one of his PowerPoints he's been using for some time. And we dropped it into Nearpod. And then it gives you the option of within different slides and between slides to add in, there's a whiteboard where folks can put in comments. You can ask a question. It does polling. And I know Brianna's put a whole presentation together. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about the different features. But I think what you're going to see and what your students are going to experience is a much more interactive experience than they did in the fall. So they'll be checking for understanding throughout a lesson in a variety of different ways. And I think that that's going to be really helpful. I know it has been for us as we've been in professional development over the last few weeks too. We've done multiple Zoom professional developments at different levels of complexity. We have done several Google Suite and Google Classroom, once again in multiple different levels, and we've done the same thing with Nearpod. And teachers have been practicing, because when it comes down to these online platforms, I really think it's the practice. You can have someone, well, I guess it depends on how you learn, right? But you can have someone explain these things to you over and over again. But until you're actually clicking the buttons yourself and you're actually participating in it, I think that I learn better that way, and I think many of us do. And so we've spent a lot of time working on those kinds of things. And once again, we are rebuilding a school, right? We're rebuilding the policies, we're rebuilding the way that we do things, and it's been a huge undertaking, to be honest. And we are still working that out. We still have a week to go and lots of details to work out. We're also, along with that welcome back video, there's going to be a student expectation, a remote learning expectation, a one-page sheet to share with all of you, just the ways to help support your students at home, things that they should be thinking about when they're setting up their space, right? How they can be effective. And that's probably not sitting on their bed with 3 pillows and all of that, kind of passively watching a class. It's sitting in a chair, it's your back straight, it's actively participating, and it's finding a quiet little space as best as you can, because we all are at home. Here I am in my dining / kitchen area, the best that you can to find a little quiet space for your student, and a chair. And hopefully a flat surface that they can write on, and I think that we're going to have a great fall. It's not ideal. We all still want to be back in school, and we want to see your kids in real life. We want to see each other in real life. But I think that we have been able to pull together a program that I think that you're going to appreciate. I think your kids are going to appreciate it. And our goal is to have them ready and learning and having an AMSA education the way that we all want them to. Along the way, please reach out to Mark Vital. Please use the AMSA remote learning email address for feedback. When you see the pulse surveys coming in your email, please answer them. They will help us. We can change on a dime. Right? We've done it over and over again. If we're hearing feedback that something's not working, we will look at it and we will try to shift if it's something that we can make happen. So that's why it's really important that we work together as a community, and make sure that feedback, constructive, caring, thoughtful feedback, that we're able to kind of communicate in that way so that we can make this the best few months for our kids, because it's really is all about them and their education. So we thank you all once again for joining us. Pants are always optional for Zoom. Well, we want to make sure they have uniforms are not required. Please make sure that the kids are dressed. The way that we've been, talking about it is as if they were going to take a walk down the street, right? How would you want your kids to go out and take a walk down, down the street in your neighborhood, right? You want them to have clothes on. You want them to be, covered, have a shirt and shorts or pants or whatever. on, and we don't want them to have any mistakes and all of a sudden have a video pick up something that becomes, seen by their classmates. So we want to make sure that they're covered up.
Some people are asking questions. Zach Marquez. Zach, it's good to hear from you, by the way.
Hey, Zach.
Hope all is well. With the 2 weeks, so the 2 weeks of posting grades. So keep in mind, that's a minimum expectation. Miss Murphy still is in the classroom. I know, and she taught here for about 8 years prior to becoming vice principal. I do think that the vast majority of folks here at the school do post regularly and update their grades regularly. The reason why we have the 2 weeks in there is that's sort of the standard and the policy that was created maybe 2 school years ago with our communication protocol. As you know, at a minimum, that's the expectation for the teachers to have their grades up to date and accurate. And just keep in mind, this year with our shortened school year, we're looking at approximately 8 weeks per quarter, which means that at the very least, we will have academic warnings and things of that nature going out once every 4 weeks throughout 4 weeks into each quarter. And Ms. Murphy, I don't know if you want to chime in and mention anything else to Zach. I mean, that's just the standard that we've set as a school, and something that was a community, I shouldn't say community, that was all the teachers and staff members collaboratively working together to come up with that communication protocol document that we have posted on our website.
Yeah. I even remember it being longer than 2 years ago. I think even like my second or third year we started, we had like a certain day, I think it was like Tuesdays maybe, that we would even get like a little notification through our email. It was before our Gmail time that, make sure your grades are updated by the end of the day. And then I think to allow for some greater flexibility, we moved away from like the set dates. But given our remote nature, we felt like structure would be really helpful, and now kind of reinstituting that strict date, I think will be helpful so that all parents and all students will know that, every 2 weeks by the end of the school day on Monday, their grades should be updated. So I believe our first date that we have set is actually September 21st, which is technically the second week of school. Or actually might be wrong on that.
I think it's September 28th. Would be the first
sorry,
day.
thank you. So sorry, so September 28th. So after, that point, it'll be every 2 weeks, so 2 weeks of material. And like Mike said, it is an absolute minimum. I would say most of our teachers have or will update grades more frequently than that. That's one of the great things about the Nearpod program that we've added, is that it allows for students to submit answers in like a short answer form as they're working through a PowerPoint or a lesson with teachers, and things like that. I know a lot of the teachers are really excited with that training, because things like that are really a lot easier to grade more quickly too, so that more grades can be input, and you'll see that updated. So that's one of those things that takes less time to grade than an essay or a test, and therefore you might see a change in your grade reflected because of that. But we also know too that all of our teachers are adapting to this massive change. Yes, we were remote in the spring, but not to the degree that we're going to be this fall, in terms of our schedule and all that. And teachers have a lot of planning, even if they've been teaching the same curriculum for 6 or 7 years or so. They also will be spending a lot of their prep time planning. So I think having grades more frequently would be a little bit burdensome for them too, because of all the extra prep work that's going into this year. And again, that 2 weeks is the same standard that we've had for years, like Mr. Naraki said. So it's just having the set date is what's different this time around.
I was just going to say, there's nothing preventing students from asking their teacher. What that means is that they're posted on Plus portals, but there's nothing preventing students from asking a teacher, hey, how did I, usually you would receive your quiz or things like that, in a timely manner. It may not necessarily be posted on Plus portals yet, but you'll be receiving feedback, but you can also always ask your teacher for feedback and about your performance and things like that. And, they can communicate that with you. It may not necessarily be posted on Plus portals yet, but they may already have it corrected, or they can give you an indication of how you're progressing. So that's always an option as well, just to ask questions to your teachers, if that makes sense, Ms. Murphy.
Yeah. Another difference with this year too is, for a 1 credit class that normally would have met every day, it will be meeting twice a week. So in some ways that feedback might actually even be more frequent than it would have been otherwise, because you'll have had 4 class meetings between grade postings, whereas beforehand in 2 weeks it would have been like 8 to 10 class meetings for a 1 credit class. So that might be a way to look at it too, that in some ways you actually might get feedback more frequently for a class.
All right. Well, thank you all very, very much for joining us today. Really appreciate it. Keep the questions coming. You please use the AMSA remote at amsax.org website, and we're looking forward to seeing you kids next week.